Okay, this is the third video in the three-part series. I'm going to cover variable length subnet masking. I'm not going to cover SIDA yet. I'll do that later, where you're retracting networks for routing purposes. That's something else you need to know, but for now we're just going to go with this. And I'll put a paper up on my website here probably sometime shortly. So, variable length subnet masking is when somebody hands you a network that's not classful. In other words, it's a let's see if I can go back to that. /22, for example, would be a classless IP address. So maybe somebody hands you a /22, or in this case, maybe we go back to Alfred E. Newman's situation, and we would take that network that we were handed, and we can further divide that network up. But your starting point is not the this octet here, the 25th octet, like you would expect it to be in classful. You have to start here, and that throws people off a little bit. But it's really the same process. It's no different. So where are we at here? All right. So 6 steps, same process. We have Alfred's situation. He's got the 0 network, 64, 128, 192, which we did earlier. But we're going to get 4 more subnets out of the 192. And we're only going to focus on the 192. We could certainly do it for all these, but we're going to keep this short and simple. So, again, he's at 208 Mad Street, Building 2, Suite 172. He's in Cube 5, but we're going to subnet whoever he works down here in the 192 network and subdivide that one yet further. How many subnets do I need? We're starting with a /26, because remember, we already broke this up into 4 networks, 2, 4, and that's where we left off. And at this point, we want to get, so let's say, 4 more subnets out of it. So we would simply start at 192, which is basically ground zero. And it's kind of like being, since you're handed this network, it's kind of like being handed the building. If you were, let's say somebody built the first 3 stories of a building and there's 6 that were supposed to be planned for it, you would start on floor 2 if they got through floors, or I'm sorry, 3. You would start through on floor 3 and then work your way up to 6. So you're more or less finishing someone else's work. You can't do anything to the network that was handed to you because it's being handed to you. It's written in stone. But you can play with whatever you have on the computer side. That's all you can do in variable length subnet masking, is you can retract a little further to the right, take away computer real estate, but get more networks out of it. And maybe it's because you got a test environment that you need that, or maybe you want to set up a demilitarized zone or something along those lines. So how many bits did we have to use? Starting with 192, this was what we were handed. We already had a /26. We're going to go 2, 4. We get 2 more bits. That's the same answer we had before, and we have our 4 subnets. Our mask started as 192, and then we're going to change out and increase our mask, and that's the next question here. So 4 more subnets down here. Not sure why I put the slide there, but what's your mask? Well, I know I put it there to remind you that we're working on just 192. We're not going to worry about 0, 64, 128. So everything we do is wrapped around subnetting this subnet that we had already created. So I might have a computer 195, and my mask would change from 192 to 240. So the whole mask itself turned to 240, and I did an additional 4 networks out of it. 192 through 254 is where we started. Those are the numbers we're working with. We just simply add up from 192. That's our starting spot. So 192 plus 32 plus 16 is a 240 mask. What's your block size? Our block size is the same process as before, except ground zero is the 192. We're just going to say the last possible one in the 240 is 16. So there's what we're going to use to increment up. The only difference here is instead of starting with 0, we're going to start with 192 plus 16. So what are your subnets? 192 plus 16, and that's a 0 network effectively, but it's starting with 192 plus 16. First network is 192, and then plus 16 is 208, plus 16 is 224, and then plus 16 is 240, which takes us to our mask. That's the only difference in variable length subnet masking, really, is that ground zero is not 0. It's 192. It's the starting spot of whatever you were handed, and then you just complete it. And again, you're still writing a number that represents both network and computers. And notice that we're doing this only for the 192. We could do it for all of them, but that's kind of the nice thing about it. You don't have to. For the other ones, for the 0, the 64, and the 128 network that we had back here, these could still just be 192 masks, and we make this one a 240 because we need more networks down here. Maybe it's a test lab or something. You don't know. Okay, so what are the number of hosts and the IP ranges for each? Well, again, we just look to our networks, and since we're in the 192 only, we're going to start with 193 through 206 because I can't use 192. That would be all zeros. I can't use 207. That's all ones, so it's 193 through 206. 2 to the n minus 2. So this is the minus 2, and we just do it for each of the 4 subnets.